Well, what is up, all of our liberty-loving friends? This is another fantastic episode of Good Morning Liberty. My name is Nate Thurston, and across from me is Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson. Mr. Charles Chuck Thompson, how are you doing on this fine morning?
It's a fine morning, isn't it?
Fine morning, because today it's everyone's favorite show of the week. There's nothing we can do about that. People like the dumb. They want more dumb. Okay?
That seems to be what goes viral on Twitter.
That is the thing. Anytime we can talk about dumb things, that's how you can do it. And that's what we do on Fridays. We do Dumb Bleep of the Week. The live group throws in submissions. They also go by the name the Fed Haters Club, which you can join by going to joingml.com. I throw in a bunch of submissions as well. People on Twitter or X also tag us in stuff. But I'll tell you, that's great. It gets a little bit lower priority because there are people who are paying for our time over here. So you want to go to joingml.com for that kind of high priority treatment.
That's right.
You want to do that. At the end of the episode, we will vote. The Fed Haters Club will vote, and then we'll decide who wins Dumb Bleep of the Week. Charlie.
And Nate has been keeping track this year because we do Dumb Bleep of the Year. So Nate has been keeping track of all the winners and putting them in a bracket to prepare for Dumb Bleep of the Year at the end of the year, coming up in just a couple months.
Yes, I have been doing that.
Yeah.
I did do that. I did do that
up until March or April.
About almost May.
Almost May.
But
so
maybe
April.
the beginning of May.
Hey.
Potentially.
So
I think I remembered to do it once in June.
Well, hey, look, you've got almost the first 2 quarters done.
You know what's funny is I thought about that on the way here. I was like, I really need to open up that Excel spreadsheet and put down who wins today, because that's one less time I'm going to have to listen through the episode and figure out exactly who won, so I can then take that clip and then put it together for Dumb Bleep of the Year.
I say all that to say we do Dumb Bleep of the Year for those that don't know.
We do.
So we find the dumbest. We'll find the dumbest thing for 2024.
We will.
Yeah.
That is for sure going to happen. All right, let's get going. We got 9 submissions today. Some of them should be pretty quick and easy, like this one, which we already talked about at length yesterday, so we won't spend a ton of time on it. I even cut this clip from yesterday into a video and put it out on X for all the people to see, and both of them liked it a lot. And so let's go through the big thing that was going on yesterday, which is Make Them Riot. That's what Dumb Bleep number 1 is called, Make Them Riot. This was the talking point. Republicans against Trump pretty much sums up this talking point. Trump and his people encouraged the violent attack on the Capitol. So remember, that is supposed to mean make them riot in reference to January 6th and the insurrection that occurred on January 6th.
This is the proof we needed.
It is. We talked about Tristan Snell, who lies a lot, like a bunch. So much so that he tweeted this. He said, "Make them riot," Trump said. He gave the order to attack the Capitol. Anyone who orders an attack on the government is 100% unfit to serve in the government. This one actually got a community note, visible. So he deleted this post and fixed the problem by posting a new post where he said the same thing over again. In fact, he made up an entire string of events when he reposted this afterwards. Tristan, here's an aide, says there will be violence if we keep doing this. That's not. It's like there's no quotes. You see how there's no quotes around that? Because there's no quotes. And then it says, Trump, make them riot, do it. Literally wasn't Trump who said that. Aide, we don't have evidence of voter fraud. No quotes around that. He's making up a script right now. Trump, the details don't matter. Aide, VP Pence has been moved to a secure location. Trump, so what? They do actually have Trump saying so what after he was told that VP Pence had been moved to a secure location. I would like to hear the how he emphasized that. I think it'd be like, so what?
Right.
Do we do now?
Yeah.
You know? So technically he said, so what? But anyhow, that's not the point. The point
He
is,
could have said, so what?
yeah, that's what people are saying. Like, VP Pence is on the run for his life, and Trump's like, so what? And he cracks open a Diet Coke and chugs it real quick.
Yeah.
Crushes the can on his head and
As he
throws
had
it behind
bullets
his
flying by his ear. You know?
So there's so many
Might
lies.
as well bring in the assassination attempt
You might as well.
during this time.
There's so many lies wrapped up inside of this. Number one, it was a aide who said, make them right, do it. Number two, it happened on November 4th, not on January 6th. And so when they tie this, I mean, he literally deleted the post that had a community note shown on it and then posted this and put it like it was a string of events that happened in rapid succession, like a conversation. But this one has to do with January 6th down here at the bottom. This one had to do with November 4th, and Trump didn't say it. This one, sorry, right there. Anyhow, that's dumb bleep number one.
You know, maybe there is a problem with capitalism whenever you can just, get 1 million views on a post like that and increase the capital coming in just by making stuff up.
There's incentive to post whatever is going to get the most interaction. And I think X did a good thing coming up with community notes, although I personally believe community notes has been corrupted. There's a lot of proposed community notes on like every post. You rarely see an actual visible community note. You still see them, but a little less than you used to. And if you are someone who can write community notes like we are, you can see that the community notes section is filled up with just comments from people, like, opinion and speculation and stuff like that. And so it's kind of been corrupted. But I think that's a good idea overall.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you do. You don't want to.
How does one actually become visible?
It's got to get enough. It's got to get enough ratings, like high ratings, and it has to get ratings from. I don't know how they decide what side of the aisle someone comes down on or whatever, but it has to get enough ratings from people who typically disagree with like what your stance is. So it's made to be bipartisan community notes essentially, and I think that system has kind of broken down a little bit. So that's dumb bleep number one. Let's go to dumb bleep number two. We had Lewandowski, I think Corey Lewandowski is his name. He is explaining to this anchor on CNN this information that came out, I believe, last weekend about the amount of murderers and rapists and criminals that have been let into the country and that are not detained right now, illegal immigrants, that is, that have been let into the country that are not detained right now. And the total number was somewhere around like 400,000 criminals and 13,000 murders, 16,000 rapists. I don't know if those are separate people or if they're murder and rape or whatever, but anyhow, there's a number of them. So he's talking about this, and the journalist, he's not a journalist, he's an anchor. The anchor's very concerned about how Lewandowski pronounced Kamala's name.
You know what I can say, Jim? I can say that 13,099 murderers were let into this country, 16,000 rapists, 425,000 people in the last 4 years have been let into this country by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden's own Customs and Border Protection that are running around this country, Jim.
The other thing, too, it's Kamala Harris.
Crimes.
I don't know. Why do you guys say Kamala? It's Kamala Harris.
Jim, we know that they're committing crimes against Americans. Why can't these individuals talk about the individuals who've been killed by illegal immigrants? 13,099 murderers have been let into this country by this administration's own accounting, and you guys don't want to talk about it.
Out of all of that.
You said Kamala, so, I mean, there's really no point in talking about any of this stuff.
I honestly can't hear a difference. Kamala.
How do you not hear a difference? I don't understand.
Kamala and...
Like, if I say the word emphasis, are you like, well, I don't hear a difference?
No, I hear a difference on that one, yeah.
That's all it is.
But Kamala and...
Kamala.
So gay.
Yeah.
It's gay. It's gay.
The point
Kamala.
Like, it shouldn't matter. It's a normal... people put a different emphasis on different syllables in all sorts of situations, but for some reason they fixated on this one. They've decided that you're like racist if you say it wrong, and this is essentially like dead naming Kamala or something when you're on here talking about it, and they won't even talk about the substance.
Oh, there's two
of
M's.
The argument.
Kamala.
Yeah, it's got to be two M's. Yeah,
Kamala.
That's what it is.
Kamala.
The B is silent.
Okay,
just so you know. Kamabla. Is he still doing that? Kamabla?
So everything he said, he points out the fact that he pronounced Kamala's name wrong.
Kamala's name wrong.
Kamala's.
It's Kamala.
Kamala. Kamala. Kamala. Whatever.
That's dumb bleep.
Miss Harris.
Kamila.
How about that?
There you go. Think of Kamila.
Mm.
Okay. You wouldn't say Camila. It's Kamila. But just say Kamala instead if you wanted to pronounce it without someone being annoying afterwards. All right, let's do dumb bleep number 3. I actually forgot to put a number on this one. This is not, I know you see Josh Eckel here at the top, but he's not the dumb.
Oh.
There could be conservatives or Republicans that are listening right now that might get upset. Maybe even people in the group that aren't going to like this one. But I'm going to agree with the overall sentiment of this dumb. Personally, I don't think that schools should require people to have things like learning Bibles in your public school classroom. That's not because I think that there is a separation of church and state that's in the Constitution somehow, because I know that there isn't a separation. You can't, what's the wording in the First Amendment about religion? Do you remember exactly how it's worded? Someone want to tell me?
Oh, in the First Amendment?
Yeah.
That Congress shall not
establish. Yes, that's the word. Okay, so I don't like the idea of public schools specifically picking out something like a Bible, because the same people would not like the public schools picking out other people's version of the Bible and putting it in the classrooms either. I think that it's good to keep those things separated. And I think that public schools suck at teaching everything, almost, except for my mom, who was the best teacher in the history of the entire world. We both agree with that.
Yeah.
But almost everyone else sucks. And so why the actual F would you want these people to be showing your kids the Bible when that's your freaking job, parents? They should get that from you, not from their public school teachers. That's why I don't like it, because it's a really dumb idea to put that in the hands of the state also. And then what Oklahoma is doing is also ridiculous. Charlie, if you want to explain what's happening here.
So the Oklahoma State Department of Education under Ryan Walters has put out a bid to buy 55,000 Bibles for public schools. The description of the purchase order is almost word for word a description of the Trump Bible. Millions in school money going to Trump. What is the Trump Bible?
Trump has a Bible that he sells.
He does?
Yeah.
Does he really?
Yeah.
This is
$60 endorsed by Donald Trump.
I had no idea.
Mm-hmm.
How about that?
Trump Bible. It's questionable. I'll just say it's questionable. Okay. Especially given the fact, after the first assassination attempt, many of his comments were, I think I believe in God now.
Right. Yeah.
He's not even sure.
All right.
But he will sell you a $60 Bible.
Mm. Scope and description. The bid response. So this is for suppliers. For the specifications of the Bible. The supplier must provide 55,000 Bibles with shipping included to each school district and with a 2-week delivery time after contract award date. That's a lot slower than Amazon Prime.
It is, but it's $55K.
That's true. The supplier must provide only the King James Version Bible for historical accuracy and contain both the Old and New Testaments. The supplier's Bible must include copies of the United States Pledge of Allegiance, the U.S. Declaration of Independence, the U.S. Constitution, and the U.S. Bill of Rights.
So this is where some of the qualifications come in that they're upset with, because there's not a ton of Bibles that specifically include the Pledge of Allegiance, which is a socialist BS piece of crap that
Trump's
people
Bible
should not
does?
say. Yes. The Declaration of Independence, of course, and the U.S. Constitution, and the U.S. Bill of Rights, which I would assume would be included with the U.S. Constitution, but hey, who knows? And so what they're saying is they have narrowed this down to include what only a couple people offer, and Trump's the cheapest one. And so they have to go with that bid because it's the cheapest one.
Including the supplier's Bible must be bound in leather or leather-like material for durability.
Mm-hmm.
Durability. So,
okay. Yeah. So they basically narrowed it down to the Trump Bible.
What is that? What is that math, real quick? 30 million?
It's 3.3 million.
3.3 million?
Yeah. Yeah, so there's a news story about it. They essentially say that their publisher, the person that they order the books from, only has 2 Bibles that fit this description. One of them is 60, that's a Trump Bible, and the other one is 90. And so to be able to fit this criteria, they're going to have to order 55,000 Bibles from Donald Trump, which proceeds of which are going to go to his campaign. And it's going to be...
It looks like it's Lee Greenwood's God Bless the USA Bible, though, but
yeah.
that's endorsed by President Donald Trump.
Trump receives fees for his endorsement off of that Bible.
Ah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's got like a licensing fee on the Bible. So anyhow, I do think that this is dumb. Okay. Yeah. I think that this is clearly designed for the public school system to buy 55,000 Bibles from Lee Greenwood's Bible endorsed by Donald Trump, money going to Donald Trump. Number one, I don't think they ought to be buying the Bibles. That's $3 million for them to buy the Bibles. I don't think the state should have anything to do with teaching your kids about anything having to do with religion. I think they should probably figure out how to teach your kids math and reading, and maybe use the Bible for reading. I don't know. Maybe it could help with that. That
could do some history,
Yeah, history,
some actual historical events.
But I would like the state to do a good job doing basic things, and not expanding out to a specific religion. So anyhow, that's Dumbleep number 3. How about a video for number 4?
All right.
This is a video. This is either real or it's just a Kamala ad with an actor, and either way it's dumb. Just so you know, but this is a guy, Charlie, he's just like me and you.
He's getting paid.
He's probably getting paid.
For sure. Yeah.
He's just like me. I mean, look at that. He's wearing a Red Rocks Amphitheater trucker hat. It's a pretty cool looking hat. I like that hat. Okay. And he is a small government man. All right.
What is that? What organization shirt is that?
I don't know.
Is that the what do you call it? What's those groups? They're in those little go-karts for parades.
Oh, like the Shriners?
The Shriners? Is that the Shriners logo?
I don't know. I mean, he's not wearing the hat. He's
No,
wearing
he's
a
not.
Red Rocks hat, so I don't know. Okay, let's see what this guy has. We should consider the message, because this guy's just like us.
I believe in small government, low taxes, and stay out of my life. I am a Republican. I voted for Donald Trump, and I went to his inauguration in 2016. We tried it for 4 years. It just didn't work. All these billionaires are coming out of the woodwork to support Trump. Well, no they want their tax breaks on the backs of the middle class. What I'm looking for in a president is people like Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I think she's going to do a great job for people like me.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I approve this message.
This guy plays.
That's it.
This guy plays bags. He grills.
Cornhole. Yeah.
He wears trucker hats. He's like small government and low taxes.
He's a regular, everyday, normal mother.
He is. He is. And Donald Trump's got these billionaires coming out of the woodwork to support him. Now, what's funny is the Harris pages keep bragging about the fact that I think 99 out of the 100 Fortune top 100 CEOs endorse Kamala Harris. And she's got the endorsement of like most of the rich people, but somehow the billionaires are coming out of the woodwork to support Trump. I mean, but the billionaires that support Kamala, like Mark Cuban and that almost all of them,
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
That's totally fine. He wants
this guy's totally believable.
Yeah, for sure. Small government, low taxes, but he's mad about billionaires getting their tax breaks on the backs of the middle class because that's how it works. So you should steal more money from the rich people. Whatever. They can have him. If he's even a real person. I don't know. Do you think he's a real person or do you think he's just an actor?
That's an actor.
I mean, actors are real people. I'm saying is it a real story?
No.
Is my question.
It's not a real story.
Allow us 1 minute to tell you guys about Factor. I'm serious. It's no joke.
Come on, man.
When it's summer next year, I'll tell you what, it's going to be ridiculous.
Be doing shirts off podcast.
Shirts off podcast. Every single day in here. You guys are going to be intimidated just watching this. Husbands are going to be saying, you can't watch Good Morning Liberty. You can't. You can listen. That's fine. I don't want you watching that smut.
All because a Factor.
With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this month with dietitian-approved meals and ingredients that you can trust. Make your day delicious. Breakfast, dessert, lunch, dinner, brunch, supper.
If you call it that.
The midnight snack, if you want to do that, okay? It takes 2 minutes. You pop it out of the refrigerator and you poke a couple holes in there so it can breathe, and you put it in the microwave, and then it gets hot after 2 minutes, and you eat it, and it tastes really good. It's
no mess
cooked
to clean up?
I do other companies I've tried where you got to make your own stuff. The thing is, I'm bad at cooking things. So it doesn't matter if they pre-portioned the pepper for me to put on there. I screwed it up when I cooked it. These guys, they know what they're doing, okay? So what are you supposed to do? You got to head to factormeals.com/GML50 and use code GML50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code GML50 at factormeals.com/GML50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. All right, dumb bleep number 5. Charlie, did you understand that ad? Do you know where you're supposed to go?
Factormeals.com. Promo code GML50.
Elizabeth Warren had a dumb post yesterday, and this is the one I actually expanded on the most because I promise you I'm gonna get to the punchline of how this is gonna affect your life. Okay, it's gonna have to do with price gouging and price controls. But she's mad about this grocery store called Stop and Shop, which we don't have around here, but they're elsewhere in America. Okay, she says, right now, shoppers in Jamaica Plain are paying 30% off for this. 30% for the star is still in ad mode right there. Are paying 30% for the same frozen pizza as shoppers in Dedham or Dedham, however you want to say it. That's just not right.
30% more, 30% less.
It's 30% more. She didn't put that. They're paying 30% more for the same frozen pizza as shoppers in Dedham. That's just not right. I'm pressing Stop and Shop on how they set prices because we've got to make sure big companies aren't ripping families off. And what we have here is a story that, thank God, I've read about this about 15 times now in basic economics, where you have a lower income neighborhood and the store is actually charging higher prices on some of the goods in that neighborhood. And the inference here is that somehow they're price gouging lower income people when they go to the grocery store or the shop, which when you just think about business tactics and you take all of the other factors out of there,
that's stupid.
It makes no sense whatsoever. No. That literally makes no sense. Okay. And the higher income neighborhoods, you could probably get away with charging more in those areas than you could in the lower income neighborhoods if all things are equal, but they're not all equal. Let me tell you about this story a little bit. A study found that some Stop and Shop locations in Massachusetts charge higher prices in areas with lower median income, and now state lawmakers are demanding answers about a company's practices. Elizabeth Warren, Ed Markey, Jim McGovern, and Ayanna Pressley sent a 4-page, strongly worded letter to Stop and Shop leaders after a group of teen volunteers from the Hyde Square Task Force found that there are price discrepancies at different store locations. Can you believe such a thing? Raising concerns about price gouging. The study, the results of which were first published last year, found that the grocer was charging more in urban neighborhoods than their suburban counterparts. Stop and Shop could be engaging in corporate profiteering schemes that squeeze residents and families in Massachusetts, said Warren, who pressed for details on what is impacting the price differences and what the company is doing about it. Now, this is a person who wants to control every aspect of your life, Elizabeth Warren, okay? And she's either lying or she has absolutely no grasp of basic economic concepts whatsoever. I don't think that Elizabeth Warren is a complete idiot, but you can come up with a list of reasons why things might cost more at this other grocery store very quickly. Very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
How about the lease payments are higher, probably?
Well, it's closer to the city center.
Yeah.
So they could potentially have higher prices, but that's not the only reason. They talk about different products that I
can explain what happens right here in Williamson County.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you go to Franklin, like the city of Franklin, everything is more expensive there.
Yeah.
Gas is usually 30 to 50 cents more per gallon.
Yeah.
Okay. Grocery store prices are higher. The reason being is that Franklin City has a special tax. The city of Franklin adds a special tax for the school district. Of course, it's for the kids outside of Williamson County. So your property taxes are higher. They have a special sales tax. Everything in Franklin is more expensive.
The land is more valuable itself, meaning that the land that see, I heard someone the other day, they were like, I saw the gas in Franklin and it was like almost $1 more than it is at this gas station in Antioch. They're just doing that because that's where rich people are and they know they can get more money.
Yes,
a little
partly,
bit. But
yes.
also, how much more expensive is it to put a building on a plot of land in Franklin versus how expensive it is to put it on a plot of land in Antioch?
And pay extra taxes to the city.
That's likely not even the main reason in this scenario. They went through different products, by the way, and this is where it starts to get fuzzy because they picked their own specific products, okay? Meaning that just by doing that, you can create whatever narrative you want to create. Let's say a product is more expensive, more popular in one area than it is in the other area. What if that means that store orders more of those products at that store? They probably get a bigger price break when they order more of that compared to when they have to order less of that specific product at another store, like turkey burgers being one of the things that they picked. Okay. Do you think turkey burgers are more popular in a affluent suburb of Boston, or are they more popular in a non-affluent, urban, different demographic area of Boston? Okay, so which one did they get the price break when they ordered more? There's a question right there. They don't go into any of those kinds of details when they discuss these different products that they picked. Elizabeth Warren and the other four that wrote this letter did not go into any of those specific details.
Of course
it's
didn't.
just price gouging. That's just what happened. All right. Let me even show you these teens. Now, this is all Elizabeth Warren and these four other elected officials are just going off of this study that was conducted by these random teens that went around and picked out their own random groceries at these two grocery stores.
When you confirmed these suspicions,
it was kind of flabbergasting in a way, because, you kind of go grocery shopping, you're just like, did I pay like $2 for this the other day at this location? But then you're just like, oh, maybe I'm just like remembering something the wrong way. But when you actually compare the receipts side by side and you see that you're spending 18% more in your own local neighborhood, you're just like astonished and confused as to why the prices have been different at the same store.
As part of your investigation to find out why there's such a disparity in foods in different communities?
We have tried again and again to contact Stop and Shop and see why they market the way that they do, but unfortunately, due to several weeks and Stop Shop being a proprietary business.
All right, so you get the idea there. I'm gonna
business
like that's going slow, kind of glitching out some. All right, let me get back to some of the facts. All right, the task force bought nearly identical grocery items at Stop and Shop locations in these two areas. They said that people would spend $34 more for the same grocery cart full of items. Of course, they picked the specific items. I'm going to tell you why this is really important here very, very soon, because right now it just sounds like I'm nitpicking something, but I'll tell you. Stop and Shop said that the Utes shopping list compared less than 1% of the 10,000 items sold at the stores in Jackson Square and Dedham, and that the overall price difference is less than the 21% the original study reported. The Utes' original study avoided items that were on sale to focus on items listed at regular price. However, Stop and Shop said in a statement that almost all of its sale items are equally priced across the entire chain. And I'm going to show you this. What do you think this is, Charlie?
Oh, this is a map.
This is a map. You are correct.
Yeah.
This is a crime map. Green is good, and then going towards red is bad. Okay. Which location do you think this is?
That's Dedham.
That's Dedham. This is the more affluent, higher, median income community. Let me show you a different map of the Jamaica Plain store. This is the Jamaica Plain store. There you go. This is almost
That's a
entirely
map.
red.
That's a map
It's
too.
also, yes,
Yeah.
it is also a map. These are crime maps. And almost the entire area around this store is in different shades of red. Almost the entire area around the Dedham store is in different shades of green, moving to yellow. There is one little orange area over there around it on the map. So here's another thing that happens. What if you have higher crime? What if you have higher crime? What if you have higher theft at your grocery stores because of the higher? What if in a lower income neighborhood that is a higher crime neighborhood has more theft from the grocery store than the
So
one
to
that's
make
in
the
a higher income?
same profit margin, you
If
may
they
have to up the prices.
You might have to raise the prices on certain things. What if you have to hire more security at your store? What if that's also a thing? Okay. There are so many different ways that explain why urban areas have higher price goods than suburban areas. So many different ways. But what these people have stuck on is that it is price gouging. And they say, thankfully, federal policymakers are honing in on this corporate malpractice. Just last month, Vice President Kamala Harris called for a federal ban on corporate price gouging on food and groceries, in addition to a bunch of other stuff. And so according to someone like Elizabeth Warren and Ed Markey and whoever else it is, the Ayanna Pressley and McGovern was the other person in this, this is an example of corporate price gouging on a local level that the federal government is going to need to pay attention to and have laws that come in and fix. And all it is a simple fact that there are different expenses to go into running grocery stores in different areas. And this idea that they're not going to control prices, that they're just going to look after price gouging, is going to filter all the way down to basic economic facts about different locations that that the same grocery store chain might have, even in a given city, and not take into account the crime, stuff like that. This is price gouging.
Hey,
That's how far down this goes.
At least they're asking the different lease prices between Jamaica Plains and Dedham.
Mm-hmm.
So seems as if these senators or, government officials are asking for information.
A little bit of information, yeah. A little bit of that. Let's move on to Dumb Bleep number 6. Kind of a funny one here. This is Politico debate analysis. Very important stuff. Politico mag. I got a mag. How about that? Tell us the difference between their analysis of the different facial features between Vance and Walz.
Yes. Vance's beard matters, they say. Vance is the first White House wannabe to wear facial hair in 80 years. Research indicates that voters see beards as more masculine. That can be positive to some, but to others, especially women, it can be negative, conveying aggression and opposition to feminist ideals. Walz, on the other hand, Walz's wide eyes showed his passion. Eye popping can sometimes be a sign of surprise, but for Walz, it simply revealed his emotional intensity, like during an exchange about abortion. The dynamic and emphatic facial motion grabs the viewer's attention. For Walz, it gave extra weight to his feelings and held our gaze.
I love how beards can convey aggression and opposition to feminist ideals for some women. I love it.
Josh said, prey-like expression. He does look like he's about to get murdered.
He does.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's ridiculous. Okay, that's a quick and easy one for number 6. Number 7 is more complicated because it has to do with FEMA. The people that take care of us when there's a disaster from the U.S. government. And it's got to be nuanced here because the talking point right now is, number 1, FEMA's out of money. And of course, we just had a Hurricane Helene come through North Carolina. Terrible, terrible stuff going on. It's over 200 people now confirmed. And there's still hundreds, still a lot of people missing. Still a lot of people missing. So it's really bad. Different parts.
I saw some different stories, like this mother who lost her child and her mother. They were on the roof of their house.
Yeah.
And it broke away from the foundation. And then they ran into some trees and power lines that
both her parents and son, Magoo said.
Threw her in the water. That is some scary stuff.
That's terrible.
Like, could you imagine getting your family on top of the roof and then all of a sudden your house breaks away?
Yeah.
And then you're on a houseboat, but not a fun kind
Not
of
the
houseboat.
good kind.
No.
And it's not made for that.
No.
It's not made for that at all. So Tim Kennedy says, Charlie?
All right. For the federal government to say that they don't have enough money to help Americans is a slap in the face to every working American and spitting in the face of every American currently in South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, and Hawaii.
Now, I agree with that. I do have to slightly push back on a certain talking point, which is that FEMA's out of money because they spent all this money on migrants. Now, they have spent a lot of money on migrants, but as government budgets go, there are separate categories. There's a category for their disaster relief. There's a category for whatever it is they call doing the migrant stuff too. Okay? Now, that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be spending the money that's in whatever the migrant category is, and that they should instead be able to shift that money over to the disaster relief portion of their budget. All right? But they are different portions of the budget. And they spent $650 million, I believe, last year. They spent 400 something. The year before was about $1.1 billion that FEMA has spent in the last 2 years. Their budget's $30 billion a year. All right, just so you know. It's a good talking point. It highlights the fact that our government does not have the proper priorities, the priorities that it should have. Of course, we give hundreds of billions of dollars to other countries, specifically Ukraine and Israel. All right, we know that. And then we've spent billions of dollars helping people do what is still essentially against the law here in the United States, which is coming across the border illegally. All right. Now, Trump used FEMA money also for immigration, and people were mad about it. He used money for immigration, for border enforcement from FEMA, not for enforcing illegal immigration like what's being used in the last couple of years from FEMA. But it's not like that's why they don't have any money. They don't have any money because the government sucks at everything it does. That's why they don't have it.
The mismanagementism.
Mismanagementism.
Mm-hmm.
This is an example. They prioritize. They got a portion of the budget. A bunch of it's going towards these migrant centers and going out to different cities. FEMA sending money out to different states and cities so they can have all these shelters and all that.
Well, and then if there aren't any like natural disaster emergencies, there has to be an emergency that these people are working.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, got to be something.
Got to be something.
And so what we should take away from this is that the government is really bad at everything it does. It's really bad with money. They have really bad priorities. And
they have to make sure they spend the whole budget so they get more.
Mm-hmm. Got to. So you want to call something a crisis as much as you can, an emergency in their case, as much as you can, incentivizes them to declare different emergencies around the country. And we do have bad priorities here. We send a bunch of money out to other people in other countries, and then when something bad happens here, and they're saying they don't have any money, and we look at our government budget, we're like, yeah, we don't have any money either. We're going to have to borrow it or tax it or inflate it. That's the only thing we can do. It's really sad that when something like this happens, one of these agencies that's supposed to help comes up and says, yeah, nothing we can do. We ain't got the funds. Now, I think that private people do a better job anyway. I think private people have been doing a better job in this situation. I think the government has been trying to prevent private people from doing a good job in this situation. Yeah. We saw stories like the helicopter pilot who was threatened with arrest.
From a firefighter.
A firefighter or a fire official. I don't know if it was a firefighter or, one of the guys that drives one of the nice Suburbans around, with the special plates on it or whatever. Threatened with arrest. So he actually, he brought someone, he rescued one person, left his son and another person that he rescued there because the helicopter was not able to take that much more weight. And that's when they stopped him and said, yeah, we're going to arrest you if you do this. So he's like, well, I got to go back at least and get my son. And so he went back and got his son and then left the other person that needed rescued, knows right where they are, not allowed to go back and rescue them. They probably sat there for another day or so before someone came and got them.
It's awful.
There's also, I saw the video of Pete Buttigieg going around saying that people weren't allowed to fly their private drones in the area. Well, they were using drones to go around and look for people that were on their rooftops or in different areas that were needing rescue. Now, they say that that's because the really nice drones can go high enough that they could end up, causing a crash or something with a plane or a helicopter or something like that. So there's different ways you can make arguments that something like that could make sense, or maybe they're just being going a little bit too far with it. Starlink offering free internet service to people that are in the area. Good Lord, that's amazing. Do you know what kind of a new world we're in, where there's a disaster area that's that big?
You can get communications into,
and you can still use the freaking internet. Probably get 300 megabytes a second, and like that. I mean, that's amazing, And the
to
government,
get communications into a disaster area like that is incredible.
Yeah,
that's one of the toughest things about something like this is you don't have any information. It's impossible to get information, and so to have something like Starlink come along, that is huge.
So we'll move on from that. I just want to say I think the government should stop making it more difficult for private people to help. I think the private organizations have done a better job so far. The Red Cross, Salvation Army, those people come in. And I think those people are generally better suited to help people in times of need. Also, it'd be great is if they didn't take our National Guards and send them over to the Middle East. When something bad happens, then you got most of your National Guard over in the Middle East, like what happened in Tennessee. They sent them to the Middle East like that weekend, the weekend that it all happened, And maybe our National Guard should be there in the state like they're supposed to be and helping the national portion and not the international police that we've become. So we'll move on to number 8, which is going to have a lot to do with Tim Walz. We got 2 more, number 8, and then number 9 comes after that, just in case you were wondering. This has to do with Tim Walz and some of his debate responses. I'm going to start you off with the China question and him lying about being there for Tiananmen Square. I want to play his response and then show you an article that discusses his misspeaking. It's just constant misspeaking.
Governor Walz, you said you were in Hong Kong during the deadly Tiananmen Square protests in the spring of 1989. But Minnesota Public Radio and other media outlets are reporting that you actually didn't travel to Asia until August of that year. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, well, and to the folks out there who didn't get at the top of this, look, I grew up in small rural Nebraska, town of 400, town that you rode your bike with your buddies till the streetlights come on, and I'm proud of that service. I joined the National Guard at 17, worked on family farms, and then I used the GI Bill to become a teacher, passionate about it, a young teacher. My first year out, I got the opportunity in the summer of '89 to travel to China. 35 years ago, be able to do that. I came back home and then started a program to take young people there. We would take basketball teams, we would take baseball teams, we would take dancers, and we would go back and forth to China. The issue for that was to try and learn. Now, look, my community knows who I am. They saw where I was at. Look, I will be the first to tell you, I have poured my heart into my community. I've tried to do the best I can, but I've not been perfect. And I'm a knucklehead at times, but it's always been about that. Those same people elected me to Congress for 12 years. And in Congress, I was one of the most bipartisan people, working on things like farm bills that we got done, working on veterans benefits. And then the people of Minnesota were able to elect me to governor twice. So look, my commitment has been from the beginning to make sure that I'm there for the people, to make sure that I get this right. I will say more than anything, many times I will talk a lot, I will get caught up in the rhetoric, but being there, the impact it made, the difference it made in my life, I learned a lot about China. I hear the critiques of this. I would make the case that Donald Trump should have come on one of those trips with us. I guarantee you he wouldn't be praising Xi Jinping about COVID, and I guarantee you he wouldn't start a trade war that he ends up losing. So this is about trying to understand the world. It's about trying to do the best you can for your community, and then it's putting yourself out there and letting your folks understand what it is. My commitment, whether it be through teaching, which I was good at, or whether it was being a good soldier or was being a good member of Congress, those are the things that I think are the values that people care about.
By the way, the question is, why did you lie about being at Tiananmen Square when it happened? That was the question.
Yeah.
And she did a good job. This is one of the times where the moderator came in and was like, hey, by the way, this was the question. Can I get an answer on? I was shocked. I was shocked that they came back and still made him answer this, and it got so awkward.
Governor, just to follow up on that, the question was, can you explain the discrepancy?
All I said on this is I got there that summer and misspoke on this. So I will just, that's what I've said. So I was in Hong Kong and China during the democracy protests, went in. And from that, I learned a lot of what needed to be in governance.
Governor Walz.
Then he looks to Vance almost to like rescue him.
Yeah, please interject.
Say something here.
Interrupt me, please. Never interrupt your opponent. All right, here we go. I want to show you, I want to show you this article that came from the group. Thanks for posting this. Tim Walz has a tendency to misspeak. It may hurt the campaign. This could also be known as lying, but it depends on which side of the political aisle you come down on. That's the problem.
I misspoke.
You know, I hate it when you get caught up in the rhetoric and you're a knucklehead and you just misspeak, you know, and say that you were in New York on 9/11. You know, isn't that weird? I just hate when you say that. Now, he didn't say that, but what if someone did? It seems like that would be a lie. It's kind of something that you might remember. I don't know. He has a tendency to misspeak. Tim Walz has a problem misspeaking. Since being tapped as Kamala Harris's running mate, the folksy, plain misspeaking Minnesota governor has had to explain a growing number of inaccurate statements. I hate it when I get my life wrong. At times embellishments. You know, when you make things up that didn't happen. About his past. They range from comments about his military service to, how about claims about his military service, to his visit to Hong Kong more than 3 decades ago, clarifying that his family didn't specifically use in vitro fertilization. IVF, yes. It's unclear whether Walz's verbal errors I'm going to use this sometime in my life. I'm going to, I misspoke, will undercut his credibility with voters. But the need to continually clean up those claims could politically hurt Walz and Harris, who were locked in a tight race with Donald Trump. And in some cases, key members of Harris' circle weren't aware of some of the inaccurate statements until they became public, despite the vetting process, according to 4 people familiar with the conversations who were granted an anonymity to discuss the matter. They talk about the military record. He repeatedly and inaccurately described himself as a retired command sergeant major, including in radio ads, but he never finished the final coursework to retire at such a rank. He did not retire at that rank. In 2018, he said he stated that he didn't want those weapons of war that I carried in war accessible to everyday Americans, but he, of course, misspoke on that because he was never deployed to a war zone. He
did clean those guns.
That whole kind of thing. He cleaned them.
Yeah.
He cleaned them. He peeled the potatoes. He did all kinds of stuff. All right.
Yeah.
Now, the fact that they have to continuously say he has a problem misspeaking, or he makes inaccurate statements, or he embellishes, they can't just say that he lied about things because it sounded better.
He's a liar.
He's a liar.
Yeah.
But they can't say that. Do you think for 1 second Politico would hesitate in calling Trump or Vance a liar about a specific thing? I'm sure they haven't. Sure, they've called him that a million times. But they come up, it's like they went to a thesaurus and they typed in the word lie, and then they used all the words that aren't lie.
All the synonyms.
and that's how they wrote the article. Oh my gosh. And then the other thing that Tim Walz did was the answer on censorship, which was spawned by J.D. Vance not wanting to say that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. But whatever, we won't talk about that. Here's that portion.
It's a damning non-answer for you to not talk about censorship. Obviously, Donald Trump and I think that there were problems in 2020. We've talked about it. I'm happy to talk about it further. But you guys attack us for not believing in democracy. The most sacred right under the United States democracy is the First Amendment. You yourself have said there's no First Amendment right to misinformation. Kamala Harris wants to use the power of government and big tech to...
All right, so that's an important clip right there. He just said threatening, and he said hate speech. All right. You do have a First Amendment right to hate speech. We're not in the UK right now. You do have a First Amendment for hate speech.
I hate you.
Yeah, I hate, just like people hate Donald Trump, or they hate Republicans, or they hate, like, what is hate speech? You can't really define it. There's a specific group of people that apparently you can't say bad things about. But of course,
if I were to murder you, Nate, it would be because you're Japanese. Is that hate speech? Is there a racial motivation there?
Well, okay, that does sound like it's racially. It sounds like that'd be a hate crime. Actually, that's Asian hate.
If I were going to,
if you were going to, it would be for that reason.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's keep going.
I'm not going to. Just if I were to do it.
If you were.
Yeah.
From speaking their minds. That is a threat to democracy that will long outlive this present political moment. I would like Democrats and Republicans to both reject censorship. Let's persuade one another. Let's argue about ideas, and then let's come together afterwards.
You can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's the test. That's the Supreme Court test.
Tim, fire in a crowded theater. You guys wanted to kick people off of Facebook for saying that toddlers shouldn't wear masks.
Senator, the governor does have the floor.
All right. You can yell fire in a crowded theater.
Mm-hmm. You can.
And this is annoying because this is a night where it turned out the moderators were fact-checking things, albeit in a very condescending manner. And be like, let's move on, and I just want to let you know that at the end of that, you were wrong about this. These are my thoughts on it. All right, Governor Walz, here we go.
Yeah.
You know?
But we have to move on.
Yeah, but we got to move on. Your time is up.
Yeah.
And so you can yell fire in a crowded theater. That whole idea came from a portion of an opinion from like 100 years ago. I think this had to do with the Espionage Act, but I'm making that up right now. So don't tell your friends that had to do with the Espionage Act, okay? But I've read about this several times, and for some reason that's clicking with me right now. It could be entirely wrong. It was a portion of one justice's opinion. It was not anything binding inside of that opinion. And also there have been new Supreme Court cases since then that have defined what incitement is. And it's not yelling fire in a crowded theater. Now, Tim Walz should know that. He's the governor of a state. Okay. He should know that. He's an older gentleman who should know what the laws are in the country that he's running to be the vice president of. J.D. Vance should know that immediately off the top of his head, that you can, in fact, yell fire in a crowded theater. We all just dealt with all this censorship, and we probably heard people say fire in a crowded theater a billion times.
We know this censorship personally.
Yes. So I'm sure he does, or he knows several people that were affected by it. His running mate was kicked off of social media, stuff like that. He should know that. All right? We've probably heard people say, well, we can't yell fire in a crowded theater. I'm sure people have had to defend that before, so he should have known that. And then the moderators also should have known that as well. Like, that is just a flat out false statement that he just made. And keeping this narrative going that, well, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, that's just freaking annoying. He uses the hate speech thing, which is not constitutional at all. He's literally proposing censorship for hate speech in this answer right now.
As a guy who wants to be one of the leaders to try and protect your Bill of Rights.
A heartbeat away from being the president of the United States, and he's saying that you should censor hate speech. So that's not good. I don't like that. Do you like that? You don't like that, right?
No, I don't like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure. All right, number 9,
as
John.
As much as I don't like you.
John, for being Asian. Yeah, I gotcha. John Kerry, this has been open in my browser all week, and I meant to talk about it every day this week. But this came from the World Economic Forum. Someone posted it in our Fed Haters Club as a submission as well. And this is John Kerry explaining the roadblock that the Constitution has put in their way of maintaining a consensus narrative with people. Used to send out the talking points to the 3 media channels that there were, and then you could essentially brainwash the entire nation at the same time, and you had no problems. That was fine. Yeah. And he is lamenting the fact that they can no longer do that in this clip. Here we go.
Which is why we need censorship.
Which is why you got to have censorship. Exactly.
And I think the dislike of and anguish over social media is just growing and growing and growing. And it's part of our problem, particularly in democracies, in terms of building consensus around any issue. It's really hard to govern today. You can't, there's no, the referees we used to have to determine what's a fact and what isn't a fact are kind of, been eviscerated to a certain degree. And people go, and people self-select where they go for their news or for their information. And then you just get into a vicious cycle. So it's really, really hard, much harder to build consensus today than at any time in the 45, 50 years I've been involved in this. And there's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities in order to guarantee that you're going to have, some accountability on facts, et cetera. But look, if people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. So what we need is to win the ground, win the right to govern by hopefully having, winning enough votes that you're free to be able to implement change. Now, obviously, there are some people in our country who are prepared to implement change in other ways, and
so
that's
you're
really
questioning
dangerous.
really if democracy can survive unregulated social.
It's a crazy clip to me. That's why it went around all over the place.
First Amendment's the problem.
It is. It is a roadblock in the way of them censoring people that they don't like. Of course, they'll call it disinformation, whatever the specific thing is. But you can't trust them to decide what it is. And guess what? If Trump wins the election, I bet you people on the left wouldn't trust Trump to decide what's disinformation and what isn't, and what isn't, But the craziest part of that clip to me is him saying the quietest part out loud. And like actually just looking back to the good old days when they used to control the narrative so easily because there were a lot less people that people would get their information from. And he said it was so much easier to get a consensus in the country on something. Then what he means is to manufacture a consensus. Mm-hmm. That's what, he didn't say that word, but it used to be so much easier for the government, which he said used to be able to govern much more effectively and swiftly because they were able to get a consensus. They were able to manufacture a consensus on whatever the given issue was. And now social media has put a roadblock, the First Amendment too.
People
put a
are
roadblock
questioning things.
And be able to do this, yeah. So I'm sure some places people get their news from, it's not true, or they take one single point and they just run away with it like it's the biggest number one reason thing in the world, but you can't control that. Like people have to have access to all the different forms of information. Good Lord, what would COVID have looked like if we didn't have social media? Even the censored social media that we had, where you could still see some things that the censors hadn't found yet. Can you imagine if we just had like NBC and CBS and ABC and Fox, and that was it?
That's it.
You couldn't look at anything at all, and they would just read whatever talking points the government, faxed over to them that day.
God.
Can you imagine what it would have looked like?
Less roadblocks.
We'd still be locked down right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'd probably be in different wars because all of America would be behind the wars.
Oh, yeah.
Because the way they would tell you the story, we'd have to be killing brown people.
We'd probably be full on war with Iran right now, more than likely. We'd probably have troops on the ground in Ukraine. It'd be totally different. Who knows what other countries?
Yeah,
we'd
that's
be
what the live
with.
group is saying. It would be 2003. How different would Iraq have been if we had social media back then?
Okay, let's get the votes in, everyone. Let's run through these. Time to get your votes in. Let me find. Wait, why is my? Oh, I just clicked on the Dumb Bleep of the Year voting channel. Number 1 was Make Them Riot. Number 2 was Kamala. Number 3, the Trump Bibles. Number 4, that Kamala ad with the everyday normal guy, just like me and you, who hates the government but's going to vote for Kamala. Number 5 was the Stop and Shop price gouging thing. Number 6, the debate analysis with the, what was the beard? The aggressive beard, anti-feminist.
Stopping feminist ideals.
Beard. And the deep caring and feeling eyes that are about to pop out of your head. Number 7, FEMA. Number 8, Tim Walz, the censorship comments and the China response. Good Lord. Number 9, John Kerry. That's John Kerry.
It sounded a little bit like Paul Harvey there.
Yeah, maybe a little bit. Okay. All right, get your votes in, everyone. Go do it.
All right, while you're voting, I'm going to tell you about the sponsors and the links of the show notes. Go visit them. We mentioned Factor among several others. So go visit those. That's one way to support the show. You can also support the show by leaving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify and sharing the show around. Share it with a friend, a family member, or foe. All the links are on the social medias. All you have to do is go share it from there. Share it from your podcast app. It's super simple.
You know what's super important, by the way? Just hitting like or commenting on something that you see of ours on social media. It's very important for the algorithm.
Just engage.
The engagement rate versus the impression rate, very important,
We like it when it's up.
So, yeah, you want that to be up. That's what the algorithm's like.
Yeah, do all those things. If you want to support this show monetarily, there's an easy way to do that by going to joingmail.com or godhatesfeds.com, be part of the Fed Haters Club. And every week when we do Dumb Bleep of the Week, typically on Fridays when we want to, you have the opportunity to vote for the dumbest thing of that week, which will be entered into the dumbest thing of the year, and someone gets a trophy. There was a clear winner this week, the debate analysis between Vance's beard and Waltz's eyes.
Can be positive for some, this is Vance's beard, but to others, especially women, it can be negative, conveying aggression and opposition to feminist ideals.
Yeah. That looks like a beard that stops abortions.
It does. That beard.
I'll tell you what,
that beard beats women. Let me
this
tell you what.
abortion thing is getting more out of control.
Yeah.
I thought the debate was bad, but then I think it's getting worse. We've talked about this before, but the amount of women that are raging right now because they don't have the opportunity to freely murder children inside the womb without consequence.
Yeah.
Is astounding. For part of the species that's supposed to be so nurturing and caring and that take care of dogs, better than they do like humans. It blows my mind.
Right now,
there's no empathy or compassion.
I would settle for going back to that. It used to be a bad, terrible, awful thing that you did that you thought about for the rest of your life and you were disgusted and that made you depressed.
Yeah.
It was like this awful, terrible, immoral thing to do, but you had to do it for some reason or whatever. And now it's just like you want to get a tattoo for every one of them you kill. It's totally disgusting.
They've completely flipped the moral narrative.
Yeah, it's wild
on this.
And whose job it is? It's people who think that it's immoral. Because the problem is we got it to the states now. Got it to the states. And a bunch of states are still voting in a lot of abortion protections. The problem is the ideological battle has not been won on this by people who see it as immoral or murder or whatever. You can't just fix it with a law on its own. Like almost everyone agrees that it's terrible to murder another human being. Pretty much everyone agrees that, except for a very, very small percentage of the population.
Psychopaths.
Who ends up doing that, And right now it's like 50, 60% of the country or more totally fine with abortion. And if it was like that on murder, we'd probably have different laws on murder in this country because people wouldn't agree that they were moral laws. Because people will follow moral laws. They're easy for people to follow because they don't naturally want to break them, It's not the state stopping you from doing it. It's like your own morals that keep you from doing it. And right now, we don't have that moral foundation For whatever reason. For whatever reason, it's not there.
Yep.
And until that is fixed, the laws might stop some, potentially. In fact, there's been more since the overturning the Roe versus Wade because the people are pushing the pill so hard, you know. Until that ideological battle is won, that moral battle is won, you're not going to do much about it. You're really not.
It's insane. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, like I said, do all those things. If you don't, I don't really care. Nate, however, does deeply.
Somewhat
deeply and passionately cares.
At times.
In his dark heart. Yeah. Heart of darks.
I do.
So do all those things. If you do, we'll be back again on Monday. Hope you have a good day and a good morning, Liberty.